What's up, ladies and gentlemen, this is Tony Mo from Pixabite, and today we are taking a look at Darkfall Unholy Wars, an MMORPG developed by Aventurine SA. The game just released on Steam and is available for $39.95. Now, I should mention that is the base price that buys you a copy of the game. The game then has a subscription fee, which is $14.95 per month. So if you want to play the game past the first month, you're going to have to cough up $15 an extra bit a month there. That's one thing I have to say I don't really like. I think that's something developers need to steer away from, but understandably they are an indie developer. You know, they don't have the same type of budget that a big name publisher-backed developer would have. So, I mean, so far the game, it's had a lot of growth. When it originally released in its beta form and stuff, a lot of people have been playing it in many different countries. It's a rather popular game, surprisingly. There's a lot of people on the servers. It hasn't been stale. I've seen a lot of people playing the game, but let's dive right into this. This game is not your standard MMO. The first thing you'll notice right off the back is you look here, I kind of have an aiming reticle. That's because it isn't your standard tab click. It's not like World of Warcraft, and it's much like Terra if you played it. It's a full-on action MMORPG. So everything we do is real-time combat. There's no toggling. There's no magical shooting of your arrows and weapons doing damage from 50 feet away. Everything is real-time. You have to contact the enemy. And let's dig into the combat right off the bat, though, and I'll show you guys a little bit of that, because I think that's probably one of the coolest and most important aspects of this game. So if I scroll down on the bottom there, you'll see it says Great Swords, Great Swords. Oh, we're going to attack. We'll hit up our Great Sword right here, and then we'll click the middle mouse button to kind of equip it, and then we can start to attack. So you can see it's all real-time combat. If we miss, we miss. Let's see if we can get this bugger off of us. Come on. Oh, he's got a bit of health, man. Okay, that's what I came here for, actually, was to hunt one of these guys down. There we go. We've taken him down. So you saw there is all, I couldn't, stay away from the enemy. And if I wanted to, I could have also backed up. So left mouse button we have to attack. You can also attack with the right mouse button. But that's just because I have the Great Sword equipped to both slots at the moment. So if we actually... I don't think I have anything I can equip at the moment. Oh, there we go. I'm going to rest real quick. That's not what we want to do. Alright. So, when you kill an enemy, he actually spawns this little kind of, gravestone, which I like. I think that's a pretty cool idea, and that's basically how you then loot the enemy. So if we press F while we're standing on top of this, we can then open this up. We got some gold off of him. We're going to drag that into our inventory. It's going to take it right away. So now, if we scroll through the wheel again, we're going to equip our bow now. I'll show you guys a little bit of bow combat. So, pull this out. It actually goes into first person by default with the bow. I like that quite a bit. It's cool how the game kind of recognizes by default, what is the best viewpoint to be using each of these weapons. Now, you can switch to third person. If you feel you don't really want to do this, you simply hit G and we can still shoot our bow in third person. We're not required to shoot it in first person. And the same thing with the sword combat. You notice that was kind of over the shoulder. We can also hit G and we'll kind of pull out a little bit. See if we can take these guys down, though. Come on, you Sarnak. Now, it is a little bit difficult to, show off everything this game has to offer. That's kind of why I've came to this area of the map to kind of show you guys the combat, because I think that's one of the most important aspects of this game. It is an MMO, so as you go through the different levels, you're going to be doing a lot of different things. This game has a lot to offer. PvP is actually one of its main large focuses. Sadly, I couldn't really get to an area or have enough time to get to a high enough level to really show that off to you guys. I am just getting poisoned to death over here. This dude is a sniper, man. See if we can take care of him. Let's switch to our Great Sword again. Let's go in and deal some damage. Now, the game offers several classes off the start and races. There's 3 different classes, and there are a couple different races. So I'm playing basically the human class. There's an orc class, and then kind of, some elven classes, and another, kind of weird, hybrid race you can basically choose from. So you're not limited to one, one type of race here. We are just getting slaughtered, man. Alright, well, while we're getting slaughtered, if we talk a little about the HUD, you look to the top there, we have our kind of mana, which we haven't really used any of our magic, and then we have our stamina, which is the yellow, and red, which is our health, so we're doing alright. We didn't take too much damage. These guys are kind of puny. Let's grab up this, though. We got a piece of armor, some larva, which we're just going to leave behind. I don't think I want to grab that. It says it's wiggling in a disturbing way. So we're going to take this because we can use that for crafting later on. The game has a really good in-depth crafting system. And this game also has a really decent tutorial. I'm actually still a little bit into it, but I've kind of, it's a sandbox. You can do whatever you want. I've kind of went off the beaten path to just play the game and kind of get the controls of it myself. You can play the game that way. You're not forced into, following the tutorial if you don't want to. So I've went out and just started killing some things. But let's I want to stop for a second and kind of look at the environments, because in an MMO, in an RPG as well, in my opinion, the environments and the world you're in are kind of a big part of it. I mean, you're going to be spending a lot of time in them, and you want to feel, kind of encompassed. You want to feel involved. You want to kind of get soaked in and just kind of taken in by the environments. And while the game isn't the most graphically astonishing, it doesn't, mean that the art style is bad. It's still a very nice art style. There's lots of colors. We have the fall, the forest are in here. I like the way the roads are designed. They've taken some time, we got these torch lights guiding the road. Little things like that really add to the atmosphere and can really make a difference when playing an RPG, in my opinion. And Darkfall does a very good job of that. They've taken some time, despite using, obviously, whatever engine they could afford. Like I said, they are an indie developer. Oh, we don't want to go that way. I think that's going into PvP, actually. Oh, why not? Let's stumble this way. First thing that happens, we get attacked. But as I said, they do a very good job. We got nice different colors in the trees here. We got some red trees. These kind of look like maybe some, a different kind of here, the light purple, kind of flower on it. It's a nice looking game at times. And there's other times when I have to say that the textures are looking very low res in certain parts of the map. They are, though, in fact, still, adding to the map. They're updating the game. They're constantly working to, fix bugs and glitches and adding a better visual thing. They're constantly backing this game. It's really nice to see a developer that's really behind their game. It is an MMO, and I'm glad they understand that they have to be in it for the long run to really make this game successful. Now, we're going to bring up our map here for a second. I'll talk a little bit briefly about the map. See, we're actually exploring the area of the map, so, it's not just given to us. We actually have to reveal the fog of war, essentially, on this map. Now, this is kind of where we started. There's a little bit of an intro to the game, and then you're teleported to this main kind of little town here where we can, craft and do all these things. And you can also set all these different markers on the map, so you're never really lost, and you never have to stumble across where you want to go in terms of finding a merchant, finding a bank, finding enemies to kill. We actually have the monster spawn point on, so we know that monsters will spawn there. It actually tells us a different rank and level of the monsters as well, so we don't go there without really knowing what we need to do to take down the enemy. Now, let's talk a little bit about the inventory management system. We can hit B here. This kind of brings up our bags. We have our backpack. Then if we hit P, this is the paper doll menu. So this is basically where we can equip and see the stats of our character. So I've already got kind of a chest plate on and some leggings, and then we have our main weapon here. And we can also equip several other different weapons and items down here that we can use the wheel to scroll through and select. So it's a very good management system. Admittedly, it's a little bit rough. It does take you a while to understand it at first in that terms, but once you figure it all out, it works very well. It's very smooth, and I don't have too many complaints about it. I think it's a rather clean system once you get the hang of it. So let's run through here a little bit. Well, actually, I'll show off a little bit of the crafting here. We can actually, this is an example of them really wanting to make the player involved in everything. You don't just kind of walk up to a tree, click on it. We actually have to equip our axe here. Pull out our axe. And then we walk up to the tree and we left click on it, and we'll actually, as soon as we're close enough, you'll see the icon right there to right click, and we'll start actually logging. And then we can actually gather this wood and use that to craft planks. And, it's just the crafting system is very involved. It's, they almost like Minecraft. They actually want you to craft the trees. They want you to use your sickle to harvest different types of things. And look at this, perfect timing. As we come to kind of an end here, you can see this game has a full day and night cycle. I like that quite a bit. The sun rising is a very nice experience. You're walking through the woods, you can fight monsters, and the sun starts coming up. The game is, it has a lot to offer. While it doesn't break ground too much in terms of your standard MMO, the action orientation of it, and the monsters as you get farther into the game and the crafting system, it's a nice place to be. And if you're looking for another MMO to kind of just dig and dive into, you will really enjoy Darkfall Unholy Wars, especially when you get to the PvP aspect of it. This game has a lot to offer in that terms. But if you guys have any interest in checking this game out, learning what the developer is all about, we will definitely have a link in the description below so you guys can go give it a look. And as always, for more indie game coverage, be sure to subscribe to us here on Pixabyte. Until next time, it's been Tony Mo, and I'll see you guys in Darkfall.